Well. Hello again. Another episode of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. I'm Gary Smith, one of the co-hosts of the Crotchety Old Men podcast. And of course, with us today is none other than my best friend, George Crumley. Top of the day to you, George.
Top of the day to you, Smitty. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing exceedingly well. Exceedingly well.
I've seemed like I've heard that before. You say it
Yes.
so convincingly. That's
Hey,
good.
man, it's true. I feel good, man. I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. So
And like they say, your attitude determines your altitude, and that's so important, especially in this day and time. Anytime looking at the news and looking at what's going on around you, man, you can get really depressed. But interesting enough, I try to I stay up because I guess what I'm listening to is more positive, and what I see is more positive. So that determines my outlook. I'm not gonna let, as they say in church, I ain't gonna let them steal my joy.
that's right. That's right. And one of the best ways is to minimize that noise outside, all the distractions and stuff that we encounter on a day to day basis. And just get quiet and focus on you, go within. I know I'm stepping on our friend Paul's area of expertise now, holistic medicine, but
Oh, okay.
but he's taught us well to go
Yeah,
within.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So what do we got
Yes.
on the topic for today, George?
Well, Smitty, I think interesting is, like I said, I've been exploring the news, and it's no secret that the stock market is just off the chain. I think every day is a new record, new high, and for those that are in the market, I mean that creates a lot of extra money, and I think when you get to a certain point, you got to determine what to do with that money. Do you want to stay in the market? Do you want to try something else? Do you want to get into something more stable? So I thought it'd be interesting today if we just talk about a couple of options, as far as buying an existing business, that is profitable. So buying a profitable business, some of the steps that you need to look at if you got some extra cash and you want to try something else, because, we're always talking about leaving a legacy, and, it's hard to leave a legacy if you're just in the stock market because that's just going up and down. But as we know, commercial property, residential property is something that you can invest in and leave a legacy for your children. So I thought that'd be a good subject to cover.
Sure, absolutely, and you're spot on. I mean, we just look at the things from a real estate perspective. Let's begin. And there's a lot of people, and of course, we've had them on our podcast. We've spoken a lot about the pros and cons, and certainly the benefits and rewards that we all have reaped from owning and buying real estate, selling real estate. And so, what I'm seeing in the market here is that because of the financial environment, interest rates are high. You hear it from some of the brokers. I've talked to other investors, specifically those who are really focused on real estate as well as stock market, is that pricing. Either it's either too high based upon the interest rates today, and so the deals don't pencil out. In talking to a lot of commercial real estate brokers, they too are proclaiming that you know the pricing of real estate has continued to go up, and up. So you have a whole lot of buyers looking for too few of deals. There's not enough deals out there. And so both lenders, in terms of mortgage brokers, as well as commercial real estate brokers, are experiencing a tremendous slowdown in volume. Now, I don't know how that pans out in the residential side because depending upon the region and the market, I hear people saying that residential is flying off the shelves. They can't find enough homes for the buyers. What's it like in your market there, George? Have you seen or
Yeah,
heard anything?
yeah, I think that. I think that's it. You've got more buyers than sellers because here again, if I refinance during COVID and I've got a 2% interest rate, why would I sell?
Right,
So,
right.
and then so you got some buyers out there looking, but inventory is way down. I mean, here
Okay.
it's way down. It's usually probably about 8,000 houses, and I think it's probably down around 4,500. So
Wow.
and that's inventory. So that's across the board in here in Georgia. So that's something you really But and I'm gonna state this, not necessarily looking for an answer, but is it really the interest rates, or is it the economy, or those that are in that have the goods have raised the prices so that it becomes less obtainable? For example, the price of housing, a house, I think I heard on the news yesterday, the average price of a house in Georgia is almost 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, because we've lived through interest rates of 8, 9, 10, 12%. Um, but I think what makes the difference here, because when you tell me 6%, 6% to me is not a bad interest rate.
No.
But when you tell me the house is going to cost you 400,000, it puts a different perspective on, that whole situation. And I think the combination of the two is what's really influencing the market, and the news doesn't make it any better. They're always going to blame it on the interest rate, but I think more it's the lack of inventory, back to your question, that allows sellers to raise the anticipated price of their homes, based on what they think the market is going to bear. And that's what really prohibits buyers from getting into the market. Not necessarily the interest rate, but the cost of the house.
You're spot on. That's exactly correct. I'll summarize it as this: greed. Okay, that's basically what it boils down to, because that is and for lack of a better phraseology here, the hidden agenda, if you will, of value. Okay, you put a property out there and you push the market, and a property is only worth what a willing and capable buyer has the ability to pay for it. So now you position these deals or position these properties, because this was a platform that was used purposely in commercial real estate when I was a broker, that you create an environment where there's an auction type of an environment, and you have people overbidding each other, outbidding each other, because in commercials especially, they either have to satisfy a 1031 exchange because they sold one property and want to avoid paying taxes on the capital gains. So they must, excuse me, they must find and purchase another property of like kind, equal to or more expensive than the last one, and replace the debt if there was any debt on it.
Mm.
So those people are pressured. They have a time clock, the clock that's ticking over here with the IRS, and they have a competitive clock over here is ticking, because if they identify a property, there's going to be 5 or 6, 7, 8 more offers on that same deal. And so now you got that competitive bidding. And that's not the way the market's supposed to be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you create that. Sellers are so used to that back in 2021 and before the pandemic, and certainly 21 and 22. People were just buying deals and really wasn't even concerned about how the numbers are going to work out.
Right.
Overpaying. So that
Right.
has contributed to why there's a slowdown in deal volume. But here's something and you just opened it up when you talked about what other options are out here available to investors. Well, I believe in what I'm seeing, and certainly I encourage anyone to investigate and research on their own, is that there's a better environment out here as far as business buying or mergers and acquisitions, or, you see a lot of people also attempting, they take some of their 401k money, or if they're retiring, and since real estate, they maybe don't have enough to buy an apartment building, or maybe they don't have enough to buy a Taco Bell. And, as you said, the stock market has all the volatility. But at the same token, they don't want this money just sitting in a 401k. Matter of fact, at age 72, you got to take it out anyway. All right. So they're faced with a compelling problem. And so now what we're finding is that the market has switched around. There are more businesses, small businesses available for purchase than there are buyers to buy them.
Mm.
Now that's a tremendous switch, and it puts you as an investor in the driver's seat, as opposed to the other way around, when there's not enough deal volume. You're constantly competing against other people. That's not the case anymore.
Mm.
Here's one of the salient reasons why. That same group of people I talked about in their 70s or what have you are looking to exit. very well-run, profitable companies. And so maybe they started out with the plan of saying, I want to leave this for my children's children. Because look at it, George. I don't care what business you go to. If that business has been around 5 years or more, that business has not only made enough money to take care of the operating expense to stay in existence, but it's also paid that owner's house note. It's paid for their car note. It's paid them a salary. And if the owner is married, it's taking care of that spouse. And a lot of children have been placed through school and all this other stuff because of that small business. So rather than go out and start a business from scratch with no market, no customers, no office, no inventory, no experience, it just makes common doggone sense to go buy a business
Mm-hmm.
that already has all those things I rattled off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that does make sense, and I guess the first thing that pops in your head, if that piques your curiosity, is okay. So where do I find these businesses?
Oh, the businesses are all around. Number one, just like any other situation as it relates to investors, and matter of fact, as it relates to investing in anything, there's always a middle person to help you,
Mm,
okay, with that situation. Now, I'm not shedding rain or cloud, or whatever they call it, on any brokers that are out there. If you're a business broker, or what have you, business brokers, just like real estate brokers and stock brokers, they have their purpose in the investment process. However, but you don't need any of those to find a real estate deal. You don't need any of those to execute a trade, and you don't need any of those to buy a business. I'm not saying stay away from them, because if you talk to them, you're going to learn a lot about the business buying process.
mm,
And so you don't have to fear the lack of education. What you want to know is that what business is it that fits around my lifestyle? Okay, that's the most important part. What business that I can buy that's local? You don't want to be living in Atlanta and own a printing shop in Detroit, all right? Because that really doesn't work that
mm,
well. You're going to need to be in. Now, I'm not talking about if you're working in the business. Now,
mm,
again, depending upon the size of the business, that could work if it's
mm.
big enough. But most
Yeah.
businesses already have their employees, they already have their accountant, and all this other stuff in place. So, and I don't want to just ramble on about it, but I want to plant seeds in people's mind that, hey, the same, and let me pause here though. Banks are not going to give you any money initially
Mm,
to go buy that business. But hopefully, if people, I mean, you and I probably remember this book, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, by
mm,
Reginald Lewis. His was about leveraged buyouts. Now, that was on a grand scale of buying Beatrice Foods and all that. But this levels the playing field, as far as I'm concerned, because it's been my experience that most African Americans cannot get involved into their average commercial real estate transaction.
mm,
Number one, it costs so much money. Number
mm,
two, it's so competitive. And number three, again, their biggest question is going to be, what's your experience? How many of these you own? So that's a barrier to entry that most people cannot overcome. But here in America, Black Americans, we own over 2.5 million businesses in this country.
mm,
Still too small.
mm, mm,
Okay, we need more entrepreneurs, but here's a way to preserve the businesses that we do have. There are, like I said earlier, there are people who need to, want to, or either have to exit these businesses, either because of health reasons, or they're just tired of running the business, or divorce, dissolution in an apartment, or death, any of those.
mm,
There are life events. So in a business transaction, it's not adversarial.
mm,
You got a willing buyer that's willing and able to buy your business, and you got a seller who's motivated to sell it to you. Matter of
mm.
fact, they're so motivated to sell it to you, they will help you buy it. And that's called seller financing.
That's pretty good, Smitty. So what are some of the things that you look for as far as identifying an opportunity, and then how do you evaluate if this is a business that you really want to get into?
Okay. First, I look for a business that is necessity based. Necessity to who? Necessity to the people that come to do business with it.
Give me
Okay.
an
So
example.
All right, let's give you an example. Let's say a staffing company.
Okay.
All right. A staffing company is necessary to who? Other businesses that employ people. All right. One of the hardest things to do is attract and retain quality people. All right. And so if you're a builder, I mean, I'll just use engineering because most staffing companies specialize. Either going to have wait staff, restaurant type people, or they're going to have engineers. I used to be a part owner of a headhunting firm, and my specialty was, as started out, was industrial engineers.
Mm.
Then from there, I went to regulatory affairs, looking for people with the FDA and stuff like that. So, in providing staffing like that, there are systems now where you can operate something like that almost remotely. And whereas that, because of the market, your business is going to grow, period, because of the number of people looking to hire other people. Number one. So it's not like you got to go out and do a whole lot of advertising and stuff like that. Number two, another way to increase revenues, of course, is to raise prices as inflation continues to go up. There's an automatic lever right there to increase your prices. I find out that over 75% of business owners are afraid or fearful of raising their prices. And one of the reasons behind that, because they fear they're going to lose customers. Yet and still, if your product or service is valuable or valued in that person, people will pay. I mean, you're not going to stop getting a haircut because your barber charges you $15 instead of 12. Okay, so businesses like that, and then the other businesses I will look at, ones that I don't have to be involved in the day to day operations. That's why you hire people to run your companies, or you buy a company that's already got a manager. Matter of fact, they already have a president involved, so that system, if that system is working well for them, it should work well for you. The only thing you're looking at is ways that maybe you can tweak it. Maybe you can cut costs here that will also increase revenue. What increases revenue also increases value.
Interesting. Interesting. So as far as you kind of touched on this earlier, as far as financing, I guess understanding the market, financing, and even the legal part of it. I mean, that's a lot, for people to understand. But how do you kind of wade through all of that stuff?
Well, in the process, well, once we assume that you first of all identified a business as a necessity-based business or a business that you like. I mean, I would look at it like this. Lady came to me not too long ago looking to borrow money to start a business. She has a business where she got this idea of coffee and cookies. All right. Well, there's a lot of restaurants out there that already sell coffee and pastries and whatever, whatever. And so it's not so much of that. There's a market for it, just like there's probably enough room for another hamburger joint to open up. I mean, since McDonald's started doing hamburgers on a mass basis, it has not stopped your local entrepreneur of opening up a hamburger stand, all right, and still make money. So it's not so much of that as that she doesn't have the capital for the startup and all this stuff. And if you're going to raise some capital, it makes more sense to buy a bakery that maybe even has marginal revenue. They may be doing very well. They may be doing moderately, or they may not be doing well at all. But if you think your famous name is cookies, I shouldn't say famous name, but your cookies and creams or cookies and pastries, I mean coffee and pastries is such a slam dunk, then here's an opportunity to buy a business that's they've already got the bakery sign there. All right. They already got the customers and stuff. And everything I just said, they even already got the lease space. Okay. Buy that or either go or even offer to be a partner in it, because you never know. That owner, if they've been there for a while, they may be tired of it. And all businesses need money. All small businesses need some extra money. So here's another opportunity to buy your way into a partnership. So the financing, to wrap this up, the financing is available because there's assets in a business. If the business already owns this real estate, you can use that as collateral. There's other profits and cash and things inside some of these businesses that you can use that as collateral. Now, sure, you're going to have to probably come up with some money of your own. It don't have to be your own. You can get other investors to invest with you if the business makes sense. Or you can go to private money lenders, or you can tap into your 401k. So there's myriad of ways. But one of the most important ways is this, is to also always, always, always ask for seller financing.
Mm.
Always. And you'd be surprised at the number of times they say yes, if it makes sense for both parties.
Interesting. This is something that I'm sure our audience is going to be, want to sink their teeth in a little bit more. But here again, it opens up an opportunity, because of the fact that, at some point you want to take your earnings out of, whatever investment tools you have and depending on your age and get something that's more substantial, because in real estate is that normally that vehicle. I think at the end of the day, that's what everybody looks at is real estate, because it's just going to appreciate, and it's something that you can leave to your family. So I think you've uncovered some really thought-provoking adjectives here, because of the fact that why try to start a business and you can already just kind of jump into one that's already going, already has a more positive to it than negative, and then you can just add to it what you can think, because I'm sure anytime you get into an existing business, you're going to come up with some ideas that the owner probably hasn't thought of, and it may be just some simple things, but it's able to cut costs, generate more revenue for everybody, and everybody's happy. So I think this discussion is definitely good timing for it, and you brought out some really good points, and hopefully our audience will sink their teeth in it and do a little bit more research.
Think about it like this, George. Also, the same concept, or in a very similar process that we use in buying real estate, is similar to buying a business. Because as we've spoken here before, particularly about commercial real estate, in the world of net lease, if you will, when you buy that business, it's already making money. You know exactly how much money it's making. No different if you're going to buy an apartment building and the seller has good books and records. And so you look at that apartment property, you got a good feel for the percentage of tenants that's paying rent. You see that. You got to see that. All right. And then to compare that to what their bank statements are. All right. Those two come really close or match up. You got true info or intel pretty much. All right. So it's the same concept. If I'm going to buy that bakery, all right, then obviously I need to see the cash flow statement. What your deposits look like for the past 3 years? What are your numbers like for the past 3 years? Okay, because I want to make the same money that you're making. All right, I'm going to pay you a fair price. Your price is not the issue. The issue is proving that, hey, that I can make $200,000 or bring home $200,000 a year, or $50,000 or $75,000 a year. Okay, so I can feed my family the same way that you fed your family for the past 3, 5, 10 years that you've owned this business. Now, as I'm making those statements, I'm also looking at that business, just like you said, George, in ways in which where can I improve it? I don't have to change the golden arches to purple. All I got to do is see if I can cut costs somewhere without ruining the process, or if I can introduce a new product, that those cookies and coffee that the young lady I was talking about. Here's a new product offering. All right, now the people are talking, word of mouth, and sales are going up just because you introduced that new product. So, man, I'm telling you, the more I talk about it, the more excited I be about it, and trying to get the word out to people. I'm on LinkedIn, and we're actively looking for companies to buy right now. I and a group of investors, but I encourage people. There's more businesses to buy than people chasing after them, and you're not going to get into this competitive bidding war.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, that's a good point, Gary. Give them your information. Because I'm sure people, latch onto this. Goes back to my first question. First people look in the mirror and say, how do I do that? Right. If you've got some information to get people started, please, share
Absolutely.
your information.
I want to help educate you as well. So you can, first of all, you can go to my website, which is www.swanmoney. Swan, sleep well at night money. All right.
Love
so
it.
It's swanmoney.com. All right. First of all. Or shoot me an email if you got questions or got something direct that you're looking at, whether you want to buy, maybe you want to sell your business. And my email address is info, at, once again, swanmoney.com. I want you to remember that. Swan money is the kind of money that what? You sleep well at night money. Okay? So
Good
go there.
Stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah. Really. And so here again, for our audience, we're not just two, old guys that are talking about, some of the things that we used to do. We're talking about some things that you can implement right here today, regardless of what age you are. And, and so hopefully you can, like I say here again, I've used this term, I don't know where I got it from, but sink your teeth into it, and grab a hold of this and, do some research, do your due diligence, and hey, something new, something actually not something new. It's something that we're bringing to you because this has been around for years and years. And here again, that's that's here again goes back to our pillars, which is information, education, exposure, and opportunity. And this falls right in all four of those categories, something we're going to continue to do for our audience. And hopefully you latch onto this and contact Smitty and, get something going. Yeah. So as we usually do, before we end these podcasts, what you got for us today, Smitty? You got some pearls?
Yes, sir. I got a pearl right here for you. All right. And it goes like this. If you don't adopt the mindset that you can never learn enough, sooner or later, whatever you have learned won't be enough.
Man,
and I got to give, yes, and that was by Terry Savelle. Okay.
Great. That's really good. And as we always say on the Crotchety Old Men, if you didn't know,
now you know.
All right, take care. Be safe.
Peace.
Peace.